Yeah, Carol, the problem, oh, are they on the table? Very good. Hi, everybody. This is Bill James. I'm chair of the Democratic Party. I'm here with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and a group of us gathering here at the headquarters. So we're going to get our webinar going here in just a minute to be respectful of time and to allow time for everybody to interact. And so give us just 2 or 3 more minutes and we'll be ready to start.
Carol, social media. Here you go. I'm a social media editor.
So it looks like, is anybody a Zoom power user to the point where they know how to allow people to come in? Okay, I'm going to keep it as a webinar for now, and then we'll add everybody at the end, I think.
Yeah. These are the people who are online.
Yes, those are the participants. I see you see my whole screen there. I have to be careful about that in case you have any secret messages. Yes. So I've just for the people on Zoom, we don't have a camera in the room. We have 6 other attendees here in person, and we're going to get settled on our end, and we'll be ready to start the presentation. We're recording so that we can easily share the presentation tomorrow afternoon and possibly on-demand video. And so I think I'll probably try to go through the presentation first. I have one slide that takes a break hi Mike, takes a break to offer people a chance to ask questions for his webinar attendees. Oh, sorry, let's see. Webinar attendees, you can just raise your hand and we'll use the setting to let you ask your question. And then at the end, I'll try to figure out a way to bring people in if you want to say hi or chat or interact more. Good. So we'll wait just 1 more minute and I'll get my slide share going. All right, well, we're 4 minutes in and it seems like we're about settled here in the office. So I'm sorry, I'm using my Zoom voice so they can hear me. I feel like it's a little bit false or inauthentic to people in the room, but we'll try to have some natural interactions as well. Doing this stuff on hybrid is kind of hard. So I'll start to present. The first thing I want to say is that in the room, does anybody know about Field Team 6? People must know Field Team 6 and worked with Field Team 6. Field Team 6. Field Team 6? Yes, exactly. So Field Team 6 is a group that I think started out focusing mostly on voter registration. Their great idea was that we could get more people participating in our democracy, and that would be a good thing. If you look at what happened with Trump in this November election, he won 32% of the eligible voters in the country, 32%, less than a third. Kamala Harris won 31% of the eligible voters, and the other, what would it be? The other 37%, either voted for one of the third-party candidates or didn't vote at all. And as you know, the third-party candidates get only a few of the votes. So more than a third of the people who could have voted in the election didn't vote for Donald Trump. And the question in terms of mandate is, what does that mean? Are the 60% or so who participated representative of everybody, or are other people just not plugged in? And with all the chaos Trump is causing, activating some of those folks could really be an important part of the equation for the next couple of elections. I think those of us who did 2018, Carol, I know you were there, and others, we know that that's true. You get some more voters participating, you can change these outcomes. So a hat tip to Field Team 6. We're going to use some of their materials. And we are in the process in the Santa Clara County Democratic Party of becoming formally part of their kind of partner organization. But that's a couple of steps. We haven't yet done that. But if anybody loves the stuff of theirs that we use today, then you might consider giving them some support in the future. Okay, here's the agenda today. We're going to talk about what social storming is. This is a term that's used in a positive and a negative way. A social storm can be something you experience when you're Target and you decide to cancel your DEI to make Donald Trump happy, and everybody gets mad at you and starts posting on social media. Like, what do you do then? So PR people have kind of this defensive idea about a social storm. But the thing that we're going to talk about is how to create a social storm, how to amplify message by acting together, which is super powerful and actually works. We're going to talk about why it's powerful and how it works and why it works, how to participate in a social storm or precipitate one if you want to do that. And also, we're going to talk about the Field Team 6 program for social storms, because it's like 5calls.org, if you know them. You can pop over to their page, this Field Team 6 page, at any time, or every morning or every evening, whenever your quiet moment is, and participate in one of their storms, because they always have content up and opportunities to do that. And doing that is good practice. They have good messaging, and it's good practice to know how to use these techniques. And then we're going to do it a little bit. We're going to do some social storming stuff as a practice, and then we'll have a chance to interact and talk about any questions people may have. Let me see if the slide clicker works. It does. So what is social storming? And we're going to talk about the work that happens before you do a storm. But in essence, a social storm is a group of people acting together to amplify their message. Now, don't correct me if you know the story better, if you remember the story better than I do, but this all reminds me of the Dr. Seuss Horton Hears a Who. And you may remember Horton was an adorable elephant guy, and he had found a clover. And because he had great prodigious ears, he could hear that there was a community of Whos who lived on this clover, and he was worried that this community was going to be destroyed and harmed in some way. And somebody like Cindy Lou Who, but not Cindy Lou Who, because she's the other one, other movie. But somebody in that community was trying to communicate with him and get him to help. And there was a scientist, Jay Science. There was a scientist that had some kind of megaphone thing, but it wasn't working enough, except for Horton, who had these prodigious ears. And so the whole effort was to try to get these Whos to be heard by people other than Horton. And in the end of the day, they effectively can be heard because they chant really all together collectively, "We are here, we are here, we are here." And when the destroyer of universes is coming, I don't remember what it was, that collective action, that adding their little tiny itty bitty voices together, is what let them be heard in the macro big world of Horton, and ultimately they're saved. And so our story, of course, is still being written, but we are facing that kind of existential threat in so many ways. And so it's a time when we're going to try to combine our voices and be amplified. This is research backed. A lot of us are Silicon Valley people. We want to know that there's science behind it. There is research that shows that this works. This works. If you band together and use these techniques, you will reach more eyes in kind of a multiplicative way. So it's not just that you reach the people that participate in the storm and their immediate people. It's that you start to create this phenomenon, and you rise up to the top of exposure. And then a bunch of people you don't even know all of a sudden are seeing this content, and it's resonating with them, and they're sharing it. And breaking out of our bubbles is one of the hardest things to do in terms of reaching a lot of people. So we're going to amplify our message, research and experience. Now, if you know political director James Kim, who works out of this office, he has been using these techniques in a low-key way for a long time. When he knows that one of our messages are a little bit more important than others or more urgent in terms of timeliness, he actually gets Mike Pertel and others who work in the office here as volunteers. He gets his friends and he says, "We're all going to like and share this content." So instead of getting 1 like or something, it gets 6 likes, and then it gets 12, and then it starts to get shared more broadly. And because Meta has good analytics stuff on the back end, we can see the impact of that activity, and it is to get a lot more exposure. And the reason is this last point, which is it's the algorithm. All of these systems are attention managers, they're attention vacuums, and they want your eyes to be on them because they want eventually to sell you something. And so they want you to engage with them. They don't want you to leave the app. and their algorithms are tuned to put things in front of you that they think you're going to like. And one of the big signals is that other people have liked and interacted with it. So if other people are interacting with content, the computers, they're programmed by people who have malicious intent and evil objectives, but in the end of the day, they're just lines of computer code, and they're brainless and heartless and soulless. And if they and in some ways, popularity is what it is. And so it's like the Wicked song. You know, if they're going to be popular, they see content is resonating with somebody for some reason they don't care about, and they'll put it in front of other people that they decide are like those people. And those are just the people we want to reach with our messaging, because we know they're out there, that they agree with us, and that we can activate them if we can communicate with them. You'd like to ask a question, Tom?
About reaching people who, let's say they voted for Trump and they're now regretting it. Do we know that they agree with us yet?
So Tom's question, for the benefit of the Zoom people, is what about the people who voted for Trump and don't yet regret it? How do we reach them and make sure we reach them? That you can manipulate in various ways. They're probably interested in some of the same things that we're interested in. So, for example, if you do social media and one of your hashtags is hashtag Doge, they might be looking at that stuff so they can give it a thumbs up and cheer it on. And then they might be surprised to find out that, hey, all of a sudden you've got a post that or information that looks like somebody who looks kind of close to home to them was harmed by something Doge did. So that's the hope of turning hearts and minds. And that's the big question, a little bit beyond our scope of what should we be trying to do? Activate all of us and getting our share of those 37% who aren't really participating, or trying to change people over? And it's probably some complicated combination of that. Yes, ma'am.
How do you get this list of names of who hasn't voted? Does the county release that to you?
So the question, for the benefit of the Zoom people, is how do you know? How do you find out who it is that didn't vote? The answer is that these techniques should work if people are on social media and interested in the same sorts of things that we all are, or are connected to people who do. But you can't actually get that information. The county party or political campaigns, political organizations can get from the registrar of voters a voter file. You have to sign a confidentiality thing and a contract that binds you to use it only in appropriate ways. And that does actually show people's voting history if they're registered to vote, which most people in California are because of the motor voter thing. So, yes.
And how do you get the list of names of people who you know voted for Trump, but maybe changing their name?
So the question is, can you get the list of people who voted for Trump and you want to change their mind? You can't really get that. The only thing you might be able to get something like their Red Party registration, but that's the one thing. You can find out who they are, whether they voted or not, but you can't find out how they voted. So I think you just have to talk to people, and sometimes people target people based on, a demographic that they think maybe might be going that way, not college educated working people who are having a hard time in the economy or something. All right, well, let's keep moving forward. So these algorithms, the idea is that I love the subversiveness of this, because the algorithms manipulate all of us all the time. And don't feel bad. They manipulate me as much as they do you. You get on this thing and it shows you something. And if you're interested in baking, it's going to figure it out and show you things about baking. And then you are going to want to know how to make that 30-minute pound cake or whatever it is that they're dangling in front of you. And so the question is, how can we use that? How can we become the pound cake so that the people that we might want to reach see our content? Because I can tell you that in the years we've been doing this, our observation on the back end is that our organic reach of content that doesn't get interacted with, and we're not always putting up bad content, sometimes it's good, it's been decreasing, because their level of sophistication has increased. They know that they can get us to pay to get things in front of a bigger audience. And what we want to do is we want to get in front of an audience without always having to do that. Okay, so this slide is largely beyond the scope of what we're going to try to talk about today, although I know people will be very interested in it. This is the stuff that Field Team 6 has people doing behind the scenes, and that we have people doing behind the scenes. So you need to set the stage. You need to have content that you're going to amplify. You have to know what that content is, and to create content that is going to align with your goals, you have to have thought through these foundational things. So I took this from an article about political organizing through social media storming, and this is the first phase, which we're sort of assuming somebody has done for purposes of this seminar, and we need people to do. So if you're like great at this and this is inspiring to you, but you can use this in any context, and it can be small or it can be like big, like how do we win in 2026? So you want to set your objective. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish with all this? Like getting people to interact with your content and you don't, for no reason is pointless, right? So you set your objective, you identify your target audience, who are you talking to? So we already talked about different targets that you could have. It could be people you want to persuade because they voted for Trump. It could be people that you think are like-minded and you want to activate them and bring them together with us. Then you have to decide on, well, what's your message going to be to this audience to achieve this objective? And these are all sort of like overlapping things you want to think about. What's your goal? It's kind of like your objective. Your objective is to win the 2026 election. Your goal might be to get connected with 1,000 people who will volunteer in 6 months preceding 2026. You break it down in that way. What's your broad message? We got to get rid of Trump. We need to have a Democratic House as a counterbalance. That was 2018. It seems like it feels like it's going to be 2026 again. Because the same reason as 2018, the Senate map isn't favorable and we were kind of stuck with Trump. What's your broad message? What tone will your audience respond to? You can see in Democratic circles, and this might be the new DNC head, it might be changing of leadership in other ways at the Democratic Party. It's a little more edgy. They're saying things like BS, they're saying S symbol T. So like, what is like, how do we stop this shit, basically? And that's language you never would have seen in political discourse from elected officials. They're trying to figure out how, as all of us are, how do you connect with the audience you're talking to? And so you think about, well, if you're trying to connect with, an older generation of voters, that language may not resonate as much as making appeals to in other ways. So who are you talking to? Young people versus old, people of color, LGBTQ community, everybody's going to want to be communicated to in a different way. What sources do your audience find credible? This is extremely challenging for us on the social media team for the Democratic Party because we don't want to include tag sources that people can't access. So a lot of people can access the New York Times or the Washington Post because they have a subscription, but many people can't. And like some of us have subscriptions, and so we can gift things occasionally, but we're probably not supposed to broadcast them like that as gifts. So content is important. You want to have credible sources that people aren't going to look at it and roll their eyes and say, that's not a credible source. People remember when Teen Vogue all of a sudden emerged after 2016 as a credible source. I mean, it can be it doesn't have to be a pillar of the society. It just has to be something where people feel like people are doing the work to make sure the information they're providing is accurate and that they might be maybe not trying to misrepresent information to manipulate them.
Can you give us an example of the sources?
So they're hard because all of them can be dinged a little bit. What we do in our team is we usually actually go to sources like that have reporting staff like the Washington Post and the New York Times, although they're giving people reason to question them. And then we find information that they've done reporting on and have been willing to publish. And then we find a non-pay source that is more or less neutral and reflects that. So AP, Reuters, The Hill, I don't even know who they are, but some people say they sometimes publish what seems like a conservative slant, but they at least are non-paywall, and they have the reporters in Washington, and we only use that source when we have crossed it against other sources. Teen Vogue for young people in 2018, Teen Vogue. So Vogue was kind of like a fashion magazine. Teen Vogue was like what it sounds like, but they really stepped up their reporting in that period, and young people thought it was good. Politico, I think that they publish things that I think it depends on who the writer is, but I think they are paywall. And so it's we've at least some articles they put something up that tries to get you to pay. So. But people do use Politico and cite Politico. You can just the way to find sources is to look at people you trust and what sources are they citing, and maybe use those, and or talk to people in the audience you're trying to target. They might say, "Oh, we don't trust Teen Vogue anymore because so and so, but Rolling Stone rocks." So that's thinking that through. Who are we trying to reach, and what sources will they find to be credible? What is your call to action? It comes back to having a purpose, right? What's your objective? Like, we don't want to talk to each other just for the purpose of talking to each other. Raising awareness is legitimate because that might feed into a later objective, but you have to know what you want. And specifically a call to action. what is it that you want them to do? You might want them to like and follow you so you can be in contact with them and talk to them more later when you get into a more operational phase. When you get closer to the election, you might want them to volunteer or donate or at least vote. But you want to think that through. What's your main call to action? What do you want them to do? And then the last thing in this really long list is what's your content? And so content is so important. Content has to be engaging in the way that's suitable for the social media channel. For things like Blue Sky and Twitter, and sorry, we're not going to talk much about Twitter for reasons we'll come to, but you want succinct words, expressions in words for people can scan through and maybe a link to a credible source. For Instagram, you need to have an image. You need to have something, a visual, and that's how that's the only way you're going to get eyes on something. You might be able to get away with a few words in the thing, and if your thing is really compelling, you might get away with pointing them to a link in your bio or profile. But otherwise, you can't. On Facebook, you can just give the link. It's like, here, click this link and donate. So it really, the call to action has to be tailored to the call to action has to be tailored to the platform, and the content that you use to get people to take that action also has to be compelling for the platform that you're on. And so all of that, we're assuming that someone, for the purposes of the rest of this discussion, all of that profundity and greatness has been done. Somebody's come up with all of this. Maybe they're paid people for Field Team 6 or Power Volunteers. Maybe they're the DNC or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or somebody. So, but somebody's done this work. So there's content that we, or even our local Santa Clara County Democratic Party or OCI or one of the swing lefts, we want to make sure that we're ready to amplify a message that's been, thought about and decided to be worth amplifying. So now this is the only animation that I've attempted. Basically, this whole idea is the idea that the orange person in the middle there is like whoever creates the content and comes up with the campaign. But as people share it, then it gets out in a broader and broader way. And you can appreciate that in social networks. Actually, this is three-dimensional or n-dimensional, and then things start to loop back on themselves. And the more as they loop back, your nephew in Minnesota might have skimmed over it the first time, but when they see it again from somebody that's in their world in Minnesota, they might say, well, hey, wait a minute, maybe that's something I'll pay 10 seconds of attention to. And you want to hook them and get them sharing as well. And if you can imagine, the algorithm is a really dumb giant brain with all the cacophony of the social media universe happening all at the same time. And the question is, what is the brain going to focus on and bother with? And if you just have that solitary little orange post, and maybe people see it and think it's cool, but nobody interacts with it or nobody does anything even casually with it, it really doesn't go anywhere. And what we're going to talk about is not faking out the algorithm, because the algorithm probably can detect too much faking out, but understanding how the algorithms work and using that knowledge to cause the algorithm to be more likely to promote content to more places. And now, this is the best part of the presentation. If I can make the technology work, we're going to play the corny pirate video. All right, let's try it.
You did it.
Yes, but we're trying to make sure we don't blast everybody with volume, so I'll turn it down. You thought I was kidding.
Ahoy, matey! Ye want to become a pirate of progressive activism without ending up in Davy Jones' locker? Avast! Ye should join Field Team 6 Social Storming. Social storming is when a small group of activists all post, like, and share things on social media, amplifying their voices and exponentially increasing the reach of calls to action in almost magical ways.
Wow!
Social storming is easy, fun, and 100% free. And dancing? Well, it's totally optional. There are 4 levels of social storming. 1. Posting pre-made content we provide to your social media feeds. 2. Liking and sharing content that other stormers are posting to their social media feeds. 3. Piggybacking on posts that are similar to what we are storming and adding the hashtags we are using. 4. Pre-scheduling tweets so that during a storm, all you're actually doing is retweeting. Now, you're welcome to do 1, 2, 3, or if you're feeling like a pro, all 4 levels. It's up to you. Let's start with level 1. First, open Twitter and Facebook in your browser. If you want to storm using Instagram, you'll need to use your phone. Next, in another tab, go to fieldteam6.org. I mean org. On the Field Team 6 homepage, go to the Actions pull-down menu.
They're all listed.
There will be one or more lowercase options at the bottom. These are our current social storms. Click on the one you want, and it'll take you to the instructions page. It's a short reminder of what you need to know to start storming. Click on the Start button, and it'll take you to this page, where you can choose where you want to post first: Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Again, to post to Instagram, you'll need to use your phone. For this example, we'll start with Twitter by clicking here. That will open a page with all our great Twitter media content. Each one of these is a tweet. It's ready-made with beautiful artwork and a pre-written tweet with hashtags. Now, here's where the magic happens. Click the blue button that says Customize and Share. That will open a window showing your Twitter account with this post ready to go. All you have to do is click Tweet. And now, you're a level 1 stormer, ye old sea dog. To become a level 2 stormer, like and share posts. Search for the hashtag Voterizer, the hashtag we use for all our storms. Click Latest to find the most recent posts. Then you can quickly like and share the post. By the way, in Twitter lingo, sharing a post is called retweeting. Notice you can retweet or quote tweet. When you do a quote tweet, you add your comments to a retweet. However, the image you are retweeting will not be preserved. So at this time, we recommend just straight retweeting, which is faster and easier anyway. Now, just find another post, like and retweet it, and keep repeating. Now, you're a level 2 stormer. Want to become a level 3 stormer? Piggyback on other people's posts. Search for conversations that relate to the messages you are storming. Find a tweet from a celebrity, a politician, or a video from an activist organization.
Fracking and flaring pollutes the air.
Then retweet it with a comment and paste in the hashtags being used in your social storm. This is a great way to increase your reach during a social storm.
Aye, that be true.
And it gets our hashtags into the feeds of accounts with thousands or even millions of followers. And it all starts with you, typing on a little keyboard. Want to do more? How about level 4 storming? Pre-scheduling your tweets. This will save you valuable time during a social storm. From inside a tweet, scroll down to the calendar icon, select the date of the upcoming storm, schedule the times randomly every 7 to 10 minutes. First, click Confirm, then Schedule. Schedule all of your tweets to go out during the hours of the upcoming storm. This pro-level strategy will allow you to spend your time during the storm liking and sharing other stormers' posts. If you have a whole bunch of pre-scheduled tweets and you want to review them just to make sure they're exactly the way you want,
I'm going to stop there because the scheduling is kind of a pro thing, and let's take baby steps, and I will provide everybody with the links to the videos and the other links that we'll use. Okay, and so that you can see them later. Let me reopen my slides, and we're going to review the main points of that.
And this is all just about Twitter.
No, it's not. So that's why actually Field Team 6 has de-emphasized this very adorable video, despite the care and creativity that went into creating it, because it's a little Twitter centric. As a matter of policy, the Santa Clara County Democratic Party has stopped posting on Twitter.
Yeah.
So we still have a Twitter account. And you may know that one of the creators of Twitter, it was involved in the creation of Blue Sky. And so it's even got like a blue butterfly instead of the little birds. And the manner of interacting is very Twitter-like. For most Twitter users, and there is stickiness in social media because people have all their things bookmarked and their follows set up. Most of those content creators that people like to follow on Twitter have moved over to Blue Sky. And so anybody on Twitter, if anybody tells you we're not seeing your stuff on Twitter, just say, oh, we're all on Blue Sky now. And it's very similar, but not evil. So let me, here's a slip. There's a slip on the desk. Yeah, there you go. Okay, yeah, because we should do some of this in just a minute here. Now I'm going to go back to the webinar, and I'm going to share my PowerPoint again. Then I'm going to do the slideshow, but this time from the current slide. Good. Okay, so now here we are. We're back in the we're back in our slideshow. We saw the corny pirate video. So one thing about the corny pirate video that was noted in the room is that it's very Twitter centric. It's probably the main use that they were using in 2018 or so when they made the thing. And so, but the principles that are what we're going to talk about, and the principles are applicable to any social media network, with the modification that the kind of content and the way of interacting might be different depending on which one you are. Okay, so these are the 4 levels if you were taking notes, and we'll share the slides after too. But basically, posting original, borrowed, or pre-made content. Now, these are my additions because it all kind of starts with a post. And so, people since 2016 have done all kinds of things. They have networks of people who knitted, pink caps for women's marches and are writing postcards and doing all kinds of activity. And you can use any little group that you have of whatever size they are as the nucleus or the main node to get things like this going. And you can create your original posts. The video talked about borrowing posts. So if Jim came in earlier and had an idea about, a saying or a slogan or kind of thing, but a hashtag can be a slogan. You can see that the Field Team 6 people are working with Votarizer to get people to register to vote. So they were just using hashtag Votarizer, hashtag Field Team 6. And that the hashtagging thing in some social networks is extremely powerful. If you go onto TikTok and you make a little video and hashtag it as Trump, you'll get a bunch of people liking and interacting with that video that you don't know, because of the way TikTok works and how heavily it credits hashtags. But if you have a relatively unique hashtag and you start getting people to use it, then it will start to get used in this network effect kind of way by many other people, and then people will start searching for content using the hashtag. If you're already involved in a campaign or an effort that has a hashtag that you're starting to see on posts, you can, in most social media platforms, search on the basis of that hashtag. So you want to talk about NIH funding, there might be some like Fund Science, Fund FUND Science hashtag that you notice. And if you search on that hashtag, you might see a bunch of content. You might say, oh, that's really compelling content. People in my network might be interested in that. And you can amplify that by doing the second level, which is liking, sharing, and commenting. So you can just like it, right? So much of our social media consumption is meant to be passive, but for these purposes, you need it to be a little more active. So you want to actually like it. You want to annoy your friends by sharing it. And you might even want to make a comment under the post, or you might want to kind of quote, repost it, and like the quote tweeting where you say something above it, like, this is really important. People should be paying attention to science. And then you have this post from somebody else beneath that. Jim.
Do hashtags point to any social media platform you're using?
So all of them are a little bit different in that regard, and they're in the way that they work and their reliance on them. And usually I think that what it's easy to access is within a social network because, rather than across. But you can see trends that happen, like the Meta platforms might be different because they're related. The new Threads platform, which people briefly started to use before Zuckerberg lost his mind, and the Facebook and Instagram and even WhatsApp are all owned by Meta. And so hashtags used there might have some power and some crossover effect. I'm not sure about that. But within all of them, they have some kind of concept of that, of tagging stuff in a way that lets people know succinctly what it's about and why they might be interested in it. Piggybacking is kind of similar to amplifying, but basically the amplifying is something you've already found. Piggybacking is you're trying to kick things up a little bit. And this is where you go and find Brad Pitt or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or somebody and what they're saying about something, and maybe adding your hashtags to it. So let's say we have the fund science, a hashtag that we're trying to get going. You go and find something interesting about science. You go find something compelling about a researcher saying, I've lost my funding and now people are going to die of cancer, which is like literally what's happening. And then you hashtag fund science and say, look, we can't let stuff like this happen. And then things just sort of, the idea is to try to get things to snowball. And then finally, the thing about scheduling posts ahead of time, most of the apps let you schedule a post to happen at some time in the future. Pro level stuff like the Meta platform, again, has fairly advanced things for businesses. And We the Party use them, and you can schedule your posts out for days in advance. There are some third-party tools that let you do that too. Scheduling posts to go into multiple different social media accounts at the same time. That is a very pro level thing. It's a little bit focused on part of tactics that we may or may not have the organizing power to do, at least initially, which is to try to increase your impact of your storm by saying next Saturday morning, we're going to have anti-Tesla social media storm. And we're going to talk to people about the storm before it happens. Then when that period comes, like from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., 12 noon Pacific time, we're all going to jump on. And during that window, we're going to make the storm happen. So what their point was that if you're trying to increase your impact by, like, let's say the day before the Senate voted on the stupid budget continuing resolution, you wanted a storm at noon, so that, or at 9 a.m. Pacific time, so at noon DC time, if you had a big enough storm for the whole country, then the senators might and their staff members might have started to notice it. If it was Stop Schumer, right? The Stop Schumer hashtag, and everybody was going to do it between, at like around just before noon East Coast time, you would want to schedule your posts about this so that your posts are hitting and you're online looking for your friends' posts and just liking and amplifying them, and you're not busy also making your own posts. So that is kind of the next level thing. And I think this is the time where we're going to take a pause for questions so far. I'm going to stop the share so I can see the hands if there are any in the attendees. So on Zoom, if you're an attendee and you have a question about what we've covered so far, when I ask that, please raise your hand and we'll have to click a button to give you the opportunity to ask your question. But in the room, there have been some questions, but are there any questions just like as we take a break, consuming the Great Pirate video and what we've talked about so far? Jim.
Is there a particular social media platform that is more effective, more people than others?
So this is one of Jim's question for the benefit of the people on Zoom. I see you, Chris. I'll grab you next. Jim's question in the room is, are there platforms that reach more people or for these techniques might be more effective on? I think the techniques would be effective anywhere. And the problem with users is that many of us who are activists, for example, are migrating from Twitter to Blue Sky, and even migrating from Facebook and even Instagram to other platforms. But one thing we're observing, even among the activist community, first of all, the millennial generation, many of the millennials are on Instagram, and the new platforms aren't like Instagram. So Instagram might be harder, it might be stickier to get, it might be harder to get people to migrate away from that. And the way people interact with each other on Instagram is much different, and the kind of content that resonates there is different. So I think Instagram is going to be a little bit sticky But I can tell you that, in Santa Clara County, we have over 500,000 Democrats, and thousands of them are on Meta social media. We know that because we are able to Meta for businesses has a way to give them a customer list to target your advertising to particular people. And for those voters who have an email address and phone number or phone number at the registrar's office and who have a Meta social media account, we can very often do a campaign that says, hey, there's a special election for San Jose City Council District 3, vote for our endorsed candidate, Mary, and have it only probably mostly go to people who might actually care about it and might like our hearing from us about it, so like Democrats. And so that ability to target, we're mad at Zuckerberg, I am, but for the other 500,000 Democrats, many of them are still on these platforms, and they're going to be staying on those platforms because it's how they see pictures of their grandchildren across the country. They're just going to they're not going to make a political decision to stop using them. So we're doing that. And we're hoping to find more people on places like Blue Sky. Then Mastodon has a little bit of a similar feel to Facebook, but we don't see a lot of people going to Mastodon. I noticed that of all the social media platforms and there was a wide variety of people here on the webinar online and here regularly use, there wasn't anybody who uses Mastodon. So currently we're cross-posting our Facebook content to Mastodon, and we're building a little bit of a following there, but there aren't tons of people there yet. And it might be just how long people stay a little bit mad at Meta. So I'm going to take Chris and then other questions in the room. Chris, hang on. I'm going to allow you to talk. Chris Napolis.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Bill. Hey, I was wondering if you could maybe chat a little bit more about the differences in generations for how they're interacting with social media. I appreciate what you were saying about the millennials. It seems to me that I think among maybe our generations are kind of using advertising on Facebook is a good way to get some of us, because we're at least kind of showing up occasionally for cat videos or for checking on, other things within families. Where are you finding that the 20-something generation and maybe the early 30s are able to be contacted for advertising for social media?
Well, thank you, Chris. Chris knows that he and I have kids of similar age who are kind of in this zone. And I'll speak for my kids, which is my experience with my kids. I have a 22-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son and an almost 18-year-old son. And so that sounds like they're kind of closely grouped. And there were times when they were fighting when I can tell you that it felt like they were too closely grouped. But each of them uses social media in a drastically different way. My daughter is, I would say, probably more on Instagram than other platforms. And so she's sort of like an early Gen Z person and a little bit more like a millennial in terms of her use of social media. I can tell from our party posts and who interacts with them from our activist community that the Instagram folks are mostly millennials and younger Gen Xers. And some of us who've all kind of migrated a little bit over to Instagram, again, to see our grandchildren and kids and nieces and nephews, because as maybe younger family members have moved from Facebook to being a little more on Instagram. My middle son doesn't hardly use any social media at all. He briefly used Snapchat to talk with friends. He's on Discord because he does gaming. And he is on small chat groups with intimate groups of friends. So he would be hard to reach through social media advertising for other than gaming. And then my youngest is on TikTok. And he talks to some of his TikTok friends on Snapchat, but his content consumption and the content he posts is mostly on TikTok. If you want a good laugh, go on TikTok and go to SCCDP1. We're like SCCDP on most platforms. On TikTok, we're SCCDP1. You don't have to have an account to look at TikTok content, and you'll see that it's populated by videos that I made to build a little bit of content there right before the election, and some content that our interns posted. And the interns were current high schoolers. They really wanted TikTok as a channel, but as busy high schoolers, they didn't really in the end have as much time to create content as they thought. So I think that the practices are changing, and the reality is that a bunch of people who vote are older and are on Meta platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, coming over with us activists in the Blue Sky. So, but if you're trying to reach if you're trying to reach voters, I think of the age range that Chris was talking about, Instagram would be a lot more effective, and still the paid advertising works there. For younger users of social media, you are going to have to start looking at TikTok and other kinds of platforms and channels.
Is that phone only TikTok? Is that only phone?
No, you can look on your computer. Yeah, yeah, and it's like most of the social media. It has kind of a kludgy browser-based interface. It's kind of mostly written to be a mobile app. I remember Instagram used to, when you went to Instagram online, it used to look like a phone because they basically just made a window and had it act like a phone. But yeah, the platforms that you go after are really super important. But the last thought on the question, we do have to think about the younger voters and how to reach them, and some of these techniques may or may not work with them. But one horrifying thing for me on TikTok was, do you remember Donald Trump doing the McDonald's thing and how inauthentic and goofy that looked and how embarrassing it was? And then he did the garbage truck where I think somebody literally had to lift him up from the backside and push him into it to get him up. And it wouldn't be easy to climb into a garbage truck. I wouldn't want to have to do it while someone was filming me, but yeah, exactly. He was going on the wrong end, right? He would have gotten on the other end easier. But as ridiculous as those things looked, they created viral social media content. Well, TikTok, as I mentioned, if you use the right hashtags, that'll show you content. And whereas because the content we have been posting, when I went on as the user of our account to post something, I normally saw I often saw somewhat political things, but I also saw just dances and regular TikTok content. As the election approached, there was just, you started seeing carefully edited and music accompanied short clips of Donald Trump at the burger place and at the garbage truck, and they weren't making fun of them. It was like, wow, this is content we're going to. So somebody was storming that content, and it's an example of the power of this sort of thing to maybe mislead. But yeah, where people are, that comes back to that earlier screen about the paying attention to who your audience is, knowing where they are, what's going to be a credible post to them, and how to reach them. Okay. There were other questions in the room. I'll just go this way. Oh, yeah, go first.
I'm fine, because I don't even know how to get onto the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi.
No, just come sit back.
Sorry, basic stuff. Bathrooms are out through that door. Food's in the back. Wi-Fi is easy. It's available. Carol.
Things, I've never used hashtags like on Facebook. It doesn't seem to do anything with it. So do you have any information on that?
Yeah, so the hashtags, we all need to be better about hashtags because they are powerful. And I think that if you look at most of these things have a way where you can look at what's trending. And I encourage everybody, even if you've never used hashtags, if you're making a post that you want to have good reach, it's not like, sometimes we just make a post because we're interacting with the people that we regularly interact with. But if you're trying to do something like this, where you're trying to break out a little bit, you want to look at what's trending. So for example, my idea about fund science, I thought that was pretty good. But if I don't think you're allowed to use dollar signs, but if people were already opposed cuts to NIH funding and university science funding, but if other people were already using some other tag that was getting visibility, it would be you at least would want to also include those other tags, so that people who are focusing on content that has that tag will also see yours, and then maybe people will start picking yours up. But you don't want to go out and creating your clever new tag if you'll get more reach by using a tag that's already trending. Yeah.
Second question is Santa Clara Democratic Party sponsoring or spending money on advertising in Facebook Blue Sky? Because I noticed right now there are 2,400 followers on Facebook.
Yeah, that's good. So the followers on Facebook, that's been built up over time. We have a really good, we try to make it like the Wizard of Oz, who exactly is creating the content in the background. But our poster there does a good job of collecting good links and setting a reasonable and appropriately concerned, more recently tone. So those followers, the answer is that The answer is that we're going to be doing a campaign soon, a paid campaign on Facebook platforms. We're mostly going to be asking people to follow us on Blue Sky and if they use it, Mastodon, because we spread a little thin right now. So if we're trying to keep a regular pulse of good content on Blue Sky, for example, then we've got a few people who are contributing to that, and it's hard to keep that up and other platforms all at the same time. And so we're trying to expand our team a little bit. We probably need a native Instagram poster to be a part of that team. I see somebody on the line that I've talked to about that actually doing that role. But it's hard to keep content for many platforms. The advertising we've done so far has been for candidates and our slate of candidates, and that has been very effective. We naively paid for advertising a number of cycles ago, and were horrified by the response because basically we had people, women of color who were running for local office, and most of the actual comments and such that were made to a general audience were horrifyingly racist and cruel. So these MAGA people are out there in our communities. Also, of course, when you're online, they're out there in the broader community. So there are people who, and probably governments and organizations, that spend a surprising amount of time trying to interfere with our efforts on social media and online generally, trying to target us with mean calls, trying to target us with phishing emails to steal our money. So there are kind of bad actors out there that you have to be wary of. But paid advertising to increase reach increase following, because basically your content usually does work its way into the feeds of the people that are following you. So a basic campaign would be, hey, follow this account. This account has got good content and it's a good organizing node for us. It's like the idea of the starter packs. Has anybody not looked at the Blue Sky starter packs? Blue Sky lets you sort of say, these are 7 or 8 of the accounts that I find to be really informative on the subject of science funding. And then if other people know that you've got good ideas about that, they can just follow all those accounts kind of as a clump. But following is a good way to make sure that you manage your feed and see the content you want to see. And for us in Social Storming, we want people to like our content, but also to follow our account if they're not already following it, because that way they're much more likely to see our later posts. So getting people to like and follow content, like content and follow the account that posted it, those are important aspects of this. Carol.
Question.
Yeah.
So do you, like, if I was to create a hashtag, like how do I own that hashtag then? Like
No, it's like lots of things. The world owns it once it's out there, and it's like if it gets voted up, then everybody kind of owns it together. So if you make a hashtag and nobody else ever uses it again, it will sort of wither and die. And if you make, but it would be a rare event for me to be the first one to say fund science. If we look now, we won't do this now, maybe at the end of after the webinar, we can look and see that example. I'm curious now, but you'd probably find some hashtag that's already resonating. Somebody in the NIH posted something with a hashtag that others then started to use and reuse. I think if you've got one that you think is clever, that really expresses something you want to do the thing I mentioned earlier in response to Carol's question, which is use your hashtag, but also these other ones that are already trending, because then you might get picked up by the algorithm, and you might get you might start to get people interested in your thing.
So in other words, you can have 5, 6, 10 hashtags.
Yes, and not every platform has a limit. It might limit the number of hashtags you can have. You might have a space limit that if you use all your characters for hashtags, you don't get to do other stuff. But sometimes if you're reposting something else that's already put in kind of a good way, you can just say, this is important, and put a bunch of hashtags. We're going to hear from Jennifer. Jennifer Cray? Jennifer, what's your question?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I've got quick question, 2 questions. One real quick. How do you know what hashtags are trending, particularly on Facebook? That's where I hang out mostly. And then the other question is, have you, anybody else, seen a lot of, well, I guess I'll just call it censorship on Facebook? Things in the past week have looked very strange. People talking about disappearing posts, censoring, stuff that you post disappearing. I don't know.
I have seen, we have experienced that, not, the disappearing thing, I have seen reports of that. Has anybody else heard about that? People saying, I've made a post and then it's gone. So, you know, allegedly, these platforms are no longer doing, content moderation. But strangely, you know, we in the progressive activist world, maybe because we're a little more pissed off and are using edgier language, I don't know. But there does appear to be some blocking of posts that's been going on. And that's a problem. And I think that what you can do is you just have to observe that. I mean, sometimes posts are actually disappearing. On Twitter, Musk has like an authority and power that he can promote his post to the top of everything and diminish other stuff to exactly 0 eyes. Which is why that we don't have confidence in that any longer. But they're not very transparent about how they do these decisions and how they happen. You can sort of appeal, but then what happens next is not very transparent. We particularly have this problem in the campaign season. We'll be running a paid ad, and all of a sudden it will go down. Sometimes it seems to be that people who are our opponents are making complaints that it's inappropriate content, like, oh, you're talking about Kamala Harris, that's inappropriate, and it gets taken down for a while before we fight and get it back. But yeah, that's a problem. We don't control what happens with that. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are moving over to other platforms, basically to I'm just doing a quick search here. They're moving over to other platforms as a way to avoid that. So Blue Sky does not appear to be taking down our stuff, at least, and that's a good you know, that's one reason why people are kind of choosing that.
Yeah, I would just suggest that people make screenshots, because that's how I found out about it. People are posting screenshots of what was taken down, and then Facebook will say why they're taking it down. And it's absurd. I mean, it's worse than absurd. It's malevolent what they're taking down. It's stuff that we would consider completely innocuous.
Yeah. So I think that so going back to your other question, Jennifer, when I use the phone platform, it's harder to find the trending hashtags. But if you Google Facebook trending hashtag, or then you'll find some sites that list them, or you might find the actual social media platform sites. And there are various sites that will do it, and most of the platforms have their native way of doing it. I find it easier to find where that happens, though, when I look at a browser. And so looking quickly on my phone, I'm having a harder time finding it on the app itself. But you can see, you know, a bunch of commercial things come up, and you might be able to filter. Some of the platforms, actually the TikTok platform, when you put a hashtag mark in, it will start to suggest hashtags that are already trending. And then if you start to put in, so if you, for Harris, like if I was going to put Harris 2024 before the November election, as I started to type, a window opened up and it showed hashtags that already existed and how many people had used them, which is another way that you might find those. So
Cool,
okay.
Thanks.
Yep, good. Yes, Jim.
I'm assuming the demographic that's not voting are the younger people, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, who don't care about Social Security, don't care about Medicare and all these things. Does the Democratic Party know, like, I mean, those platforms that they use are the TikToks and Instagrams, right?
Yes, I think that's true. Now, the first thing you said is true proportionally. There's a bunch of people our age who don't vote, and so, but there's many. Yeah. If you just Google, you'll be able to see from the last election a demographic analysis, and there is some element, some non-trivial element of non-participation in every bracket. And so, if for example, you were in a situation where you felt like you had access to a community of people that you might assume vote because they seem like responsible people and good people, then there might be people who could be reached there who aren't yet voting, and you know, who knows how they would vote. People do tend to seem to vote more conservatively and more Republican over time, so the young people might be a better bet for that reason as well. But where people are is super important. And TikTok and other platforms, they've got these long form things that people like Gavin Newsom is getting himself in trouble because he's trying to go too far too fast. He's trying to get his little podcast thing going. Yeah. And these kind of conversations, people will listen to them during their drive, and they can be compelling. And some of those podcasters have developed a following. But yeah, people are consuming content in different ways, and that's always changing. And reaching young people is hard. Sometimes you can reach young people through their parents or other people like teachers who have influence over them. But that is a question. If your audience for a particular campaign is to reach young people, you might need to figure out how to do a TikTok channel, and having me on the channel as we do for the county party channel as opposed to young people that might resonate with them is probably not the best thing. But that's that pre-work part of getting things going. Yeah, one last one, then we'll keep going. Yeah.
There may be older people who are worried about Social Security and they still voted for Trump because they were led to believe it wouldn't be touched. And so these are people who've been burned, and they should be gettable.
Yeah, that's an important thing. That's a part of accountability that I worry about. We'll have to do a good job because people will experience real loss and harm. People who voted for Trump will experience that, and we just have to make sure that they understand that it's his fault that he did it to them. So I hope that works.
How long can hashtag be?
I think that varies by platform, but they can be pretty long. And like a lot of the platforms do have a content limit. We're going to have one more question or comment from Elizabeth, and then we are going to move forward. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it's really important for us to put out the messaging that, yes, to the people who voted for Trump and regret it because it did damage to them in their personal life, but also like put out the narrative that like be concerned about yourself, your family and friends, but also be concerned with others. Because I think there's like a Elie Wiesel quote that said like, or something along the lines of like, first they came for people who are Jewish, then they came for people who are Black, then they came for these people, and then eventually there was no one left. They came for me, and then there was no one left. So I think it's important for us to help them understand that too, and to care about us as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a you know, you look at what the Republicans first went after, it's transgender people, right? They figured like those are people that we can other and isolate and then practice some of these techniques on, get everybody else used to them being treated in this way. It's just it's an authoritarian playbook, right? Then you pick the next most vulnerable group and the most easily isolated. It's like lions or you know, hunting a pack of gazelles. And you isolate, then all of a sudden everybody's used to this happening, and they're more afraid of being the one who's isolated than you know, and they think the best strategy is to let others continue to be isolated so that they can stay in the pack. And that's definitely what's going on. So yeah, let's go for people who are being harmed, and then also not give up on the idea that that even if the people being harmed aren't you, obviously people are being very substantially harmed. It's why they started with USAID, because you know people are far away, and that such grave harm happened to people as a result of what they've done there. That you know, they're trying to get us all used to things being destroyed and not having the impact being immediately effective by us, but it's coming for sure. All right, good. Let's go back to the slides and just finish up. So we have, I can see we're running a little bit long on time, and then we are going to do a little bit of practicing, and I'm happy to hang out and do that as people get used to doing that. Okay, going back to the share of my slides. I only have a few more. Will this work? Okay, we're at questions. I'm going to go to the screen where I can control this. Okay, good. So those are great questions. So here, we'll share all this information out. There's a couple ways you can get. You saw they went through it kind of fast, and the interface looks a little bit different. But if you'd like to do this at a time when you don't see content from us or from your other main organizations that you want to resonate, this fieldteam6.org content is good. And they've paid for or created a platform that lets you pick you can filter sort of in two ways. If you're mostly posting on Blue Sky these days or Instagram, you can go there and you can say, I want to look at stuff that's available for Instagram, and they'll show you everything kind of all pre-set up for Instagram. Then their stuff walks you through step by step to get to the point where it's posted and on its way. So their main page is fieldteam6.org. Then there's like a volunteer button at the top, which is a drop down, and you pick Social Storm, and it'll take you to their main page. And then if it's easier for you to remember this bit.ly, it's /fieldteam6storm. And you can see that they keep up with timely things and update them fairly quickly. For example, I noted they had a Social Storm thing going for the continuing resolution, and they changed the content and updated the information as things happened. Like once it passed the House, they changed it to trying to influence the Senate. Once it passed the Senate, they had different content still. So that's a good source for content. And they might already have something going on, something you care about. You might say, you know what, I'm really worried about the SAVE Act, this thing about voting rights, and it seems like a big giant voter suppression thing. So rather than you having to say, I'm going to get a social thing going about SAVE Act, they have one. And some people have already participated in it. They've got their hashtags already set up, and you just have to go there and follow their step-by-step instructions. So it's a really good tool. I'd love to be able to have that for our county Democratic Party. I think for us, it's going to be more about asking you all just to highlight and promote the content that we have. A live demo. This is my idea. And let me see if I can pull this off. So I will stop this share. Let's see here. I need to get back to that screen. That's the wrong one. Still there, right? It's this one. Okay, we're going to. Why did that happen? Okay, let's see here. I'm trying to get to the. That's not happening. Sorry, I'm having a hard time finding the screen to stop this share. It's not there. There. Should be that one. It's not. Let me see if I just turn it off. There it is. Okay, good. All right. That's good. Now, I'm just going to go to a browser, and I'm going to find, I'm going to go to Field Team 6. I think I could just share this and show it to you. Really do know what I'm doing here. Trust me. All right. Share that. So, all right, I'm sharing my screen here, and let's go to, let's just go to fieldteam6.org. Good. And then here's this volunteer tab, and I'm going to scroll down to Social Storms. And this is the landing page. And so they're focused on registering Democrats, but you can see that some of these posts are not necessarily about registering Democrats. Here's something about Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia student former student who is being in process of being deported. So this is a good example. Let's pick Blue Sky, because I think it's got an interface that I can post to online, and you can see that makes all the little buttons kind of default to Blue Sky. Blue pajama resistors wanted. This is a Field Team 6 thing. So this is, if you wanted to post this on Blue Sky, they're trying to get people to do research, right? They're going to make a voter guide for next year. So they're planning for that. They're recruiting people who have research skills. This is volunteer recruitment. We need jugglers. So they need, they're being a little jokey here. These are the people who made the pirate video. And they're looking for, or maybe they're maybe actually doing an event for community building. Help save democracy without getting out of your jammies. That's a similar thing. Research volunteers, different ways, different content to do this. Here they're honoring Women's History Month, right? And you can see that in all of their posts, like this one, they've got a quote from Dolores Huerta. It's the right length for a Blue Sky post. Is it still Women's History Month? It is, right? March, the whole month of March. So here they've got a call to action. They want you to volunteer or donate or both, apparently to the Field Team 6 in honor of all of their things. Here's Shirley Chisholm, volunteer, donate, or both. Here's one to get you to register or check your registration at the voterizer.org site. And they're using these same hashtags, right? So they've got Voterizer here. They're using Registered Democrats. Let's do one of these that I haven't already done. Okay, here, call your representatives and senators. Now, whenever you're sharing content, you want to know like that AmericanProgress.org isn't some crazy organization. So you should always do a little bit of research because you don't want to amplify something and then find out that the crazy people, like they're the LaRouches or something like that. But the SAVE Act is bad. This is an action to call senators and representatives, tell them to vote no. So let's say we want to do this one on Blue Sky. And so you can click Blue Sky to pick the network, but I think you can actually, I've already pre-picked it by picking it over here. I can instead do Instagram, but let's just share it on Blue Sky. And this is the, what happens. So this looks like is my county chair, Blue Sky account. So I think you'd want to log into a different account if you wanted to do that or change the account. But look, this is already in the Blue Sky app. It already copied over the text and the hashtags and the URL and the graphic. So I'm not going to have to do a lot here. This is call your senators today. Everything's already here. I look at it and make sure it's not anything wrong. If I didn't like the way something was worded here, like, if you're doing somebody else's campaign, you want to be deferential, but let's say, they're using an ampersand there and I want to use the word and, you can just edit it. But I don't see anything objectionable here. And I know I hate the SAVE Act, so I'm just going to post. And now this is just that app. So if you want to look at what it looks like, you can go to your account. Let's see. Is this still my account? This might be the Santa Clara County account.
Picture of yourself. Yeah, that one.
This one. It doesn't look like myself. Yeah, here I can see that this post went up. So I did almost nothing, right? So I'd love to have a tool like that. We don't have that. What you'd have to do for the SCCDP is if you see that post in your app, you can like it. Now, who's on Blue Sky? Is anybody in the room on Blue Sky? So if you go on Blue Sky, and look how sad this is. Nobody has liked or reposted this SAVE Act post. So, oh no, we're concerned. Carol, I got Carol actually concerned. But if you, if one of you,
Your private one on Blue Sky or the?
I'm sorry, I have a personal account. I have a county chair account, and this is on the account that says SCCDP Dem Chair. Yeah, or if you search for Bill James, it's not Bill James 99. I'm going to delete that one actually because I haven't been using it, and I want it to be easy to find stuff. But this is my my feed. And I don't know if it will immediately show these things, but this is an example. So we're not the only ones posting this SAVE Act thing. Anybody who goes to the Field Team 6 site can do it. And those of you who are on the webinar, you can go to Blue Sky and like or repost this account, add your own comment, and we can come back and check on it later. But let's say,
So that's a separate one from the Santa Clara County Democratic Party one.
yes, yeah. If you look here, this is the whole handle, which is kind of too wordy, but it's you can either search for it as Chair Bill, SCCDP Chair Bill James, or it's like well, if you just look for if you search for SCCDP,
You found that.
you didn't also find me? Oh, well,
Hey, Bill, you should refresh that, though. You do have likes, but they don't show up.
I'm terrified of the idea what will happen when I refresh it. But I can't get into the refresh button.
I'm sorry.
I killed that window, didn't I? Let's see if we get to it.
SCCDP. Oh, here it is, Bill James.
That's me.
Is there a way to switch that to like Facebook? Like
Yeah,
how
this
it
is
goes
what
like Facebook?
well, I'll show you how to do that.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't ask the question then. So you could see it.
This is the wrong thing. Let's go to Let me try to find me.
Okay, I just reposted it
Oh, yeah, here we are.
on Blue Sky.
All right, let's see if it gets refreshed here. It's like thinking about it. Is it like the
Got
network?
some notifications.
But it's not posting anything. Why isn't that printing? It must be the computer. Oh, here it is. Okay, good. All right, here, Carol Adamski and two others have followed me. Mike Pertel and one other person have reposted. Mike and somebody else have liked, right? And so now we'll refresh the screen. Now we have more repost, right? And so these are the things where we're not going to see a giant storm develop an instance from this, but look at what's going on here with this Stop the Save Act. So let's do a search, right? Let's say we are a person in Peoria and we want to figure out about Stop the Save Act? Stop the Save Act. And let's see what it comes up with. Let's see if it needs the, oh, I misspelled. Stop the SAVA Act. Apparently people aren't excited about.
They didn't like that, huh?
No, that didn't work. But let's try the hashtag. Hashtag stop the save. Wasn't not finding that. Are there capital letters in that? Can someone read it to me?
Save in capitals.
All caps?
Yeah. and
Stop.
then act, Capital A,
Stop and dot are uppercase first letter, and save it's all uppercase.
Oh my God. So be careful and stop the save. Save. Oops.
Does it have to be exact?
Well, let's see if it finds it by hashtag. Let's just do a search. The Save Act. So here, this is a person we don't know, right? D to the R to the R. This is Dale Roy, and we're finding the same post. So Dale Roy's posted it. Now his thing has been reposted 130 times and it's been like 200. So we're part of the storm now. So we're going to repost it. I'm going to repost it. And oh, get a thing. It's like an angel getting their wings. And so this is the idea. Now I reposted it, which is a little silly because I already posted it, but I can at least like it. And this is the idea. So we posted it. And then you can either go to the Voterizer hashtag, you'll see all their campaigns, Stop the Save Act, careful of the capitals. And now we're able to find it. Let's go back and do. You did it. Okay. When you search, you found it.
Words for effect, right? But
Okay, good. So when you search for the non-capitals, it got the same hashtag. Perfect. Okay, good. Now someone asked, what if you wanted to do it on Instagram? I think you can go, I think I've already filtered, but you can go back up and remove your filter and say, I want all. Now, if you use multiple platforms, I've picked this all button. Now we're on our thing. And instead of just having the one option, it has the other options that they currently support. Now they've caught on that activists are mad at Twitter, so they're not doing Twitter anymore. They've even taken down their pirate video. I found it because I knew about it from years ago, and I found it on YouTube. But here's Threads, which is a Meta thing, Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp. So it's a lot of Meta, it's Blue Sky and TikTok. And so let's just try Instagram. So now this is set up to share on Instagram, right? And what it did now, this is where I made the mistake that I shouldn't have made. But the video said, if you want to do Instagram, you should do it from your phone. It might be that I should have navigated to it from my phone because it would have opened up the Instagram app. But this says the post is copied to my clipboard. This is all automated by their code. And the image has been downloaded on my computer. Click the button below to create a new post on Instagram. Upload the image from your device. It gives you step-by-steps. So here it's going to go to, is it going to go to the party Instagram or something else? Yeah, it goes to this. I just happened to be doing, I think this is the party Instagram, but then I will have to create a post. I have to do, create a post, and then I'll have to find the video, I think. So Stop the Save Act video is here. That's good, right? So now I've got the image that I want. I think I'm having trouble with this window being a little weird. I think I need, oh, here, next. All right, now I don't need to apply any filters, and it's going to say write a caption. And so I'm just going to try to cut and paste. And look, it copied the content from them. So then I can just look it over. It's a lot of words. It's got a link. It's really not very Instagram native or centric. It's only using 500 characters of the 2,200 that they allow. If we had like, Santa Clara County stop save hashtag, we could add it, but we don't need to because their hashtag is here. And now I can just say share. And now if you're an Instagram user, you should in a few minutes see that Instagram thing on Instagram, and you can help promote it by liking it or commenting on it or sharing it. And here, the Meta always asks you, would you like to spend some money on that? It's like, no, I don't need that kind of approval. So anyways, the Democratic Party don't have that, but I wanted to, out of respect and appreciation for Field Team 6, and because they have good content and it's easy to do, I wanted to make sure everybody at least saw how to do that. And you can play with that and do it on all the different platforms that you use. Now, to do this, let me see if I had any more slides. I see a question in the back. I'm going to come to you. Okay, yes, Rick.
I was just like same post that you did on Blue Sky on Facebook.
Yes. Let's go back.
I tried to do the posts. I would be able to do a Blue Sky easily from iPad. Instagram, I got lost somewhere in the cutting and pasting. And on Facebook, it just says can't open pop-up, and so I was just wondering if it's something about my browser.
Oh, are you're using like this a browser on an iPad?
Yeah, I'm using Safari on an iPad, and I think I have a browser blocker.
Yeah, it might be that it's trying to use a bunch of pop-ups or something that your thing doesn't like. So it might be that you'll either need to disable them or now, are you going in from a browser? Because it's also possible. No, I don't think you'd be able to find these other than in a browser. I'm just wondering if you doing it on the app would be easier.
Socialteam6.org.
Yes, social.fieldteam6.org. Okay, let's try it.
Same thing.
Okay, so let's try it. So we are here and we're going to go to see what instructions they give for Facebook.
Cool.
Oops,
All right.
lost it. Social Field 6.
Yeah. Now here I didn't get a prompt to cut and paste the text. And what I worry about is I should be able to paste it. I wonder if it was there already because of the previous one, or if I would have had to go back to get it. But it didn't give this, it didn't give the step-by-step walkthrough, but it was already on the clipboard. I just did Control V.
Instructions, it says it was included.
Oh, here?
No, look.
Oh, on this slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, that apparently was ephemeral. So where's the other thing we were looking at?
All right. I'll try a different browser.
Yeah, so this one is, and let's see, add to your post. I don't need to do that. Oh, by the way, you can see here, if I wanted to schedule this, I would have to go to the Meta business site because I think this is associated with the business account. Has this already been posted or do I need to tell it to post?
I think you need to press post.
Where is it though? Okay, let me change this to sharing here. And I guess see if we got any more questions. People have to.
On Instagram, I was sharing.
Yeah, you can set up your things to do that. Okay, so this is, oops, why didn't it happen? Maybe I gotta select it again. There it is. Okay, this is our last ask, and then I'm gonna stop this and take questions from people in the webinar in the room. That is, we don't have that cool interface that Field Team 6 has, but we do post a lot of content almost every day, a good flow of content. And so in the apps that you use, even casually, it's helpful to us if you follow us. And then you'll see more of our posts, and then find a post that you can like and share now. Many of you have already done that, but just to get in the habit of doing that. I know that for me, it was if you have a general audience on your social media apps, like your relatives in New Jersey are there and you're not even sure how they vote or if they vote, you might be uncomfortable with some of the political stuff. I think what you should do is make a burner account that is your political account that you feel comfortable being fully out and you in so that you can do this kind of thing, because you're interacting with content that you like and want others to see will promote it to others. Just the act of you reposting it to the little bit of people that you know in the world can, you know, increase the visibility of something. You are helping that reach not just the people that you know who might see it, but these algorithms will notice that it's getting interacted with. And then my last homework ask is to like and share something tomorrow. Go to one of the Field Team 6 page and do that. Like something of ours on social media. You know, that way you'll participate in helping move things forward. So that is actually our time. But by now we've confused everybody and you're in the middle of something and you're stuck trying to do Facebook. So I'm happy to hang out and try to work out some of those problems. It's noon, so if people have like to be someplace at a Tesla protest at 1 and they want to go quietly pack up and leave, if you're online, thank you for attending. We'll probably stop the video at this point for the people who are going to see it tomorrow. But do try to remember to take away the idea that following our accounts, liking and sharing our content, liking and even reposting with a comment can really help increase how we're all connected to each other. And then if you're doing a campaign in another context, and you'd like us to help you amplify that, we should start to figure out ways to think that through and share that across organizations. Basically, somebody's having a big event or a big protest, to do some of these things, to figure out who's the audience, making a hashtag, getting all the people in all the organizations to social storm together, I think will be a powerful thing. So are there any other questions on the webinar before we stop? I'll leave the webinar going just in case a question comes up here that we find to be generally informative. Let's see, Rennie, I'm gonna go to, oh, nope, they're just, oh, here it is. Rennie, we can hear you.
Yeah, Bill, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff you were sharing and posting and following was black. We couldn't see anything on the screen on our Zoom call.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that I had, yeah, we could see it on the
behind you, but it's not appearing here. All we saw was a big black square.
Oh, sorry about that. Did you see
Yeah.
the video when it was played?
Yes. But when you
Good, okay,
started,
great.
like all the likes and shares, it disappeared.
Oh,
was-
yeah, sorry about that. We could see it in
Yeah.
the room and I didn't realize it wasn't happening there. So the interfaces though are, if you go to fieldteam6.org, volunteer and social storm, and just take some practices there, I think you'll see their workflow. Much of what we were doing was getting stuck on a couple of apps, but I think that the buttons, there's a download button for all of them. You can download stuff to your page and do it. So sorry about that for webinar attendees, and we'll try to do that better next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. That's too bad. Yes. Carol.
I'm stuck because I'm trying to create a Blue Sky account. And it won't let my keyboard come up, so I can't type, and it said choose your name, and I couldn't type my name in. So then I clicked on something, the ad or something, so it said go to your contacts. So I found my name in my contacts, clicked on that. So it has my name on there, but it won't let me like go any farther.
Oh, weird. Let's see if it can help you move that forward. Well, so yes, Mike.
Have your comment though that, in addition to liking and following SCCBP, when you see that they are getting likes from people, you should like those people as well, because I think it's important that we
Yeah,
all
well,
are connected with each other.
Yes, good point. Yeah, liking and following back works. And if you follow somebody back, they might be connected to people who will see your content and then and follow you as well. So that's a good idea.
That's good, because I was gonna ask, thank you, because I was gonna ask, I only have family and a few friends on social media.
Yeah, if they all are going to like your political content, then you can use that account to do that. But you can also go to Blue Sky, make a new account that's like Jim's politics account, and you start to use that and build up a community, an online community there that you're sharing content with and getting content from.
But Blue Sky is for Democrats and liberals already, right?
No, it's more like Twitter, but without the advertising based stuff and without some of the anti-democratic stuff. So if you go to Blue Sky and you look for a conservative community, you will find it there.
Oh, there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop the webinar. Thank you, webinar attendees, for coming. We appreciate you. And sorry about the problem with the shared content. I hope you were able to understand some of the instructions. And if you have questions, email me, chair@sccdp.org. If you get stuck on something, especially with the Field Team 6 tools, let me know and we'll try to help you get over that. Thank you.
No, I just want to have one to post in my office, so you know.
He's gonna post.